Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Reading with Grandma. Sorry I haven't posted in a while. It has been about a month, but with all this craziness going on in the world, I've just been kind of keeping myself occupied, and I thought it's about time for you all to hear some more stories. I'm sure the children have read all the ones I've already posted, so we're going to start again. We're going to continue with our Once Upon a Time Treasury of Fairy Tales, and we're reading a real good classic today, really old one. We're reading The Three Little Pigs. And this is for my little Pickle. That's his favorite story. So, The Three Little Pigs. One day, a mother pig told her three pigs that it was time for them to go out into the world and make their own way. The three brothers gave their mother a farewell kiss and set out. They followed the path into the countryside. While they walked, they enjoyed the warm sunshine on their heads and the fresh, clean smell of grass in the meadows. As the sun reached its highest point in the sky, the three pigs came across a man who was selling straw. The first little pig felt that straw would be a fine material with which to build his house. He bought all the straw the man had and soon built himself a lovely little cottage on the edge of the meadow. Just as the first little pig was settling into his comfortable straw chair, there came a knock on his door. It was a wolf. Little pig, let me in," said the wolf. "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," squealed the pig from inside his new straw home. "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down," said the big bad wolf. The wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down. The first little pig scampered away quickly. The second little pig had met a man carrying a bundle of sticks. The pig bought the sticks and built himself a lovely little cottage. It was not long after he finished that the big bad wolf came along. Little pig, let me in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," said the second little pig. "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down," said the big bad wolf. The wolf huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house down. The second little pig ran away as fast as he could. The third little pig happened to meet a man carrying a load of bricks. This pig bought the man's bricks and built himself a very snug and sturdy little cottage near his brother's. It did not take long for the wolf to find the third pig. Little pig, let me in," growled the wolf. "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," squealed the third little pig. "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down," roared the wolf. The wolf huffed, and he puffed, then he puffed, and he huffed, but he could not blow down the brick house. The bricks were just too strong. Said the wolf, and he quickly made a new plan. "Little pig," he said, "Mr. Monroe's farm has a nice field of turnips. If you would like, I could take you there at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning." The little pig agreed, but he was too smart for the wolf. He awoke at 5 o'clock, went to the field, got the turnips, and was back in his house when the wolf arrived at 6. The wolf was very angry that he had been tricked, and he thought of a new plan. "Little pig," he said sweetly, "there's a tree full of juicy apples just up the road in Granny Smith's garden. I will show you at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning." The little pig woke up at 4 o'clock and hurried to find the apples. The wolf also awoke at 4 o'clock and went to the garden to wait for the little pig. Just as the wolf thought, the little pig was already carrying some juicy red apples down from the tree when he arrived. The little pig was frightened. Just a minute, I think I may have skipped a page. Let's see, 697. Oh no, I didn't. Okay. The little pig was frightened. The wolf came close and called up to him. "My, you were up early," said the wolf. "How are the apples?" "Delicious," answered the pig. "Why don't you stand back and I will throw one down to you?" The little pig tossed the apple as far as he could. He threw it so far that he was able to scoot down the tree and run away. The little pig was safely back home before the wolf found the apple he had thrown. Back at his little brick house, the pig made applesauce and apple pie, and he still had plenty of apples left to eat. Not being one to give up, the wolf went back to the little pig's house the very next day. "Little pig," said the wolf, "there is a fair in town today. Let us go together. I will come by for you at 3 this afternoon." The pig agreed, but of course he went much earlier. He wanted to be home before the wolf came. The little pig was on his way home with the barrel he had won at the fair when he saw the wolf approaching. The smart little pig crawled into the barrel. He rocked it back and forth until it tipped him over, and he began to roll down the hill. The barrel, with the little pig inside, headed straight for the wolf. This frightened the wolf so much that he ran right home. The next day the wolf knocked on the little pig's door. "Little pig," he said, "I was on my way to meet you at the fair yesterday when the most frightening thing came rolling down the hill at me. I ran straight home." The little pig laughed. "I am afraid that it was I that frightened you. I was in the barrel." The wolf was very unhappy to hear this. "Little pig," roared the wolf, "I'm going to eat you for dinner today. I could not blow your house down, and I could not trick you. But now I will certainly come down the chimney to get you." The little pig had hung a pot filled with water over the fire. The wolf tumbled down the chimney right into the boiling water. The pig quickly put a heavy lid on the pot, and that was the end of the big bad wolf. Later that evening there was a knock on the little pig's door. He was relieved to find that his two brothers standing there. The three of them enjoyed turnip salad, apple pie, and a barrel full of applesauce, as they lived happily ever after. And that's the end. So now we're going to read 12 Dancing Princesses. This is a new story. I've not heard this. So we're going to enjoy this one together. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a king with 12 daughters. To say that having 12 daughters was a handful would be unfair to the king, for it was far more than that. The king was a very protective father, and he worried about his little princesses. Also, he did not always understand their ways. This was especially true since the death of his wife some years ago. Each night, the king carefully locked the door to his daughter's bedroom. Yet each morning he found the princesses tired and out of sorts. More puzzling still, every morning he found their new pairs of silk dancing slippers worn to shreds. When the king asked his daughters about this, they would laugh and say, "Don't be silly, father. We go to sleep each night and sleep soundly until morning." But the king was not convinced. Oops. Sorry, I knocked over my camera here. Hold on a second. Let's get it set back up again. That was silly. He decided to offer a reward to any man from his kingdom who could solve the mystery. The next day, one of the king's subjects, a man called Rawling, was out walking in the countryside. He was a poor but clever man, and he liked to walk and think. He had just stopped to eat his modest lunch when a strange little woman came hobbling by. "Good day," said Rawlings, standing to greet her. "Would you care for some lunch?" "Thank you," said the old woman. "You are very kind to share with me when you have so little." In return, she gave him a cloak that would make him invisible. "Take it to the castle," she said, "and claim the king's reward." Thanking the old woman, Rawlings set off for the castle. When he arrived, the king was eager to see if this young man would succeed in solving the mystery. Several others had already tried and failed. When Rawlings met the princesses, they offered him a goblet of wine. "Thank you," said Rawlings, but he was suspicious that it contained a sleeping draught. When the princesses turned away, Rawlings poured it beneath the table. Rawlings pretending to yawn, he was then shown to his bed, where he pretended to fall asleep. "It is safe now," said the eldest princess. "He will sleep until morning like all the others." With that, she tapped 3 times on the bedpost. The bed rose from the floor, revealing a secret staircase. The princesses ran down the winding stairs. Rawling, wearing the cloak, followed. He stepped upon the youngest princess's gown. She was startled, but she could see no one when she turned around. At the bottom of the stairs was an enchanted forest. The trees had branches of gold and silver and diamonds. 12 princes met the princesses and guided them in gondolas. There they rowed across the lake to a beautiful castle. Rawling stole into one of the boats. The prince who rowed thought the boat seemed heavier than usual. The 12 princesses and 12 princes walked arm in arm and into a grand ballroom at the castle. Rawlings crept softly behind them, marveling at what he found there. Beautiful music seemed to float from the ceiling. Clusters of candles hung in the air, casting a soft glow. The wonderful room was enchanted. The 12 princesses and princes began to dance splendidly around the ballroom. Each pair moved more gracefully than the next, and their movements were perfectly in step with the joyful music. Rawlings watched and enthralled. The couples danced for hours, only pausing to sip punch from the golden goblets. Then, finally, the princess escorted the 12 princesses back to the secret staircase. Fortunately, the 12 princesses were tired from their evening of dancing, so they walked slowly. Rawlings was able to hurry ahead of them and slip back into his bed before they returned. The youngest princess peeked in on him. "Our handsome guest is sleeping as though he's lived 1,000 lives," she told her sisters. With that, the princess removed their tattered dancing slippers and placed them in a row. They climbed into their own beds and fell asleep. The next morning, Rawlings crept out of bed and went to find the king. He carried with him proof of all he had seen the night before following the princess. "Your Majesty," said Rawlings, "I have solved your riddle. It seems that your lovely daughters wear out their slippers by dancing late at night," and he told the king all he knew. The king listened intently. "Can you produce proof of this story?" he asked. Rawling presented a golden goblet. "This, your Majesty, is a goblet from the castle," Rawlings said. "I ask you to put your lips to it." The king raised the goblet to his lips, and it instantly filled with punch. "How is this possible?" said the king. "The goblet is enchanted," said Rawling. Rawlings had laid out three tree branches. On the leaves of one of gold, one had leaves of silver, and the last had leaves of diamonds. "These are from the forest near the castle," Rawlings said. "But the greatest proof of my tale must come from your own daughters." The princesses who were listening at the door confirmed what Rawling had said. The king was pleased. "You have solved a great mystery," he said. "I owe you a great reward." "Your Majesty," said Rawling, "in my brief time with your daughters, I have grown fond of your youngest." Rawling looked at the princess. The young princess smiled. "If she will agree, I should like to ask for her hand in marriage." She had been charmed by this brave and clever man. The king granted Rawlings' request, and the princess agreed to marry him. The pair lived and danced happily ever after. And that's the end of our stories tonight. I hope you enjoyed Once Upon a Time in Fairyland, and we'll continue with 2 more stories tomorrow night. Have a good night and keep reading. Bye now.